So we've got a 4-in-1 test for you today, and that's because these cars are so similar. I just couldn't bring myself to do 4 separate videos and say basically the same thing about all of them. So up in the top left you've got the DR1, which is the Dallara DW12 in real life. Then in the top right you've got the BR8, which is actually a benefactor, which makes it a Mercedes, but the car itself is based on the Red Bulls of the era. In the bottom right you've got the R88, which is based on the Lotus 97T, but I've gone for the Williams livery on that one because my Lotus livery is sitting on the car in the bottom right, which is the PR4, which is the McLaren that Senna, Prost and Berger drove. And obviously we need for this some different music. And that music will make much more sense later on if it hasn't got you already. So, should you buy the open wheel racers? Well, 3 of these are on offer this week. The DR1, the R88 and the PR4 are all at 30% off, which is quite important because these things are all very, very expensive. So if you want one of them, now is the time to buy. But what I'll do is I'll tell you which one I think you should buy. Now the last one, the BR8, isn't on offer, but it is the casino podium wheel vehicle this week. So they're all available either discounted or for free. So should you buy them? And why should you buy them? Well, they are great fun. The open wheel racers are very different to the other racers in that they feature real tyre wear and real damage, and they are an awful lot of fun. Now the only downside to that is that these cars are not great in free roam. They're incredibly fragile, as you can see here. So it's really easy to break the parts off. And that with these is a problem, because with these cars, downforce matters and damage matters. Unlike most of the cars in the game, if you break off the aerodynamic parts, the grip and downforce will be affected. And not only that, but the actual different wings available for each of the cars give different amounts of downforce. So as a general rule, you've got a low, medium and high downforce setting for both the front and the rear wing. So you can go full low downforce, full high downforce, you can go something in the middle, or you can mix and match depending on your driving style. So these are one set of cars where you can't just pick the wings based on which ones you like the look of. Now, conventionally, I would typically say go for the highest downforce on any car option that you've got in the game. Usually, any downforce you can add is amazing. However, these cars have so much downforce, and you can do virtually all of this lap at full throttle. There's almost no point in adding more because you've already got more than enough. And if you do add more downforce, what that will do is it will restrict your top speed somewhat, which is not a good thing because these things don't have brilliant top speeds. They're not bad, but they're not amazing. And you'll see when we do the lap time, 3 of them in particular do lap times within only a handful of seconds of each other. Anyway, now it's time for a bit of music. Hopefully that all makes sense now. So, as we come round here to finish, what do we think of these things? And which one, if you can only buy one, which one should you buy? Well, they all drive very similarly. The BR8 in particular and the R88 are quite spiky on the handling, they're very twitchy, whereas the PR4 and the DR1 are definitely a little bit more subtle around the handling. I think if I could only afford one of them, I think in the right hands, the BR8 is probably definitely the fastest around any given lap. However, based on my review, I found the DR1 to be much more enjoyable to drive. It's not quite as spiky on the handling, it's just as fast, and I also think it's probably the best looking of the modern ones. You've got a couple of really nice livery options. I've tried to make mine look a little bit like the Arrows Indy car, and I think it looks pretty damn good, to be honest. So if I could only buy one, I'm probably going to go for the DR1. But if you are good at the racing and you actually want to win the races, you're probably going to want to stick with the BR8. And here's the first time for the BR8, followed really quickly by the DR1. The PR4 is not that far behind, and the only one that has a little bit of a gap is the R88, which you would expect because this is based on a much older car, so it's going to be a little bit slower, but it's still pretty close to the other three, so there really isn't much in it. And here's where they all sit on the leaderboard. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.